Period. Like, are you kidding me? Larry Bird in this era? Are you kidding me?
If Larry Bird was playing today, he would still be the MVP of the.
Larry Bird was never just an old-school legend people mention for nostalgia. He was the standard, the measuring stick for greatness, and the kind of player who didn't simply participate in the game, but controlled it. If Bird stepped onto an NBA court in 2026, he wouldn't be struggling to adjust to the modern league. The league would be adjusting to him. What made him special was his mind. The way he read the floor and predicted movements before they happened set him apart from most players of his era. His basketball IQ was years ahead of its time, allowing him to manipulate defenses and create opportunities that others couldn't even see. In today's NBA, where spacing and three-point shooting dominate strategy, Bird's skill set would thrive even more. At around 6'9", he had the ability to stretch the floor, pass like a guard, rebound through heavy traffic, and constantly communicate, sometimes trash talk, while doing it. That combination would create a nightmare matchup for opponents every night. Modern teams are constantly searching for players with elite shooting range and high-level decision-making, and Bird possessed both in abundance. His smooth shooting form and court vision would allow him to instantly become the centerpiece of an offense. Place shooters around Bird and allow him to orchestrate, and the results would likely be spectacular. Instead of relying heavily on isolation plays, he would transform an offense into a system built on sharp ball movement and intelligent positioning. Defenses would be sliced apart possession after possession, as Bird read
recently said that if Larry Bird played today, he'll have to play over in the European League.
If Larry Bird was playing today, he would still be the MVP of the league, and his team would still be winning championships. Now, why do I say that? Because we just watched the Joker, who is very similar to Larry Bird, take his Denver Nuggets team and win the championship. So if I look at these two players and if I'm saying they're similar, then Bird would probably win 2 or 3 championships in this era.
In this era right now.
Yeah.
Period. Like, are you kidding me? Larry Bird in this era? Are you kidding me?
That's what be boiling my blood. It'd been more stuff.
For who?
For Larry.
How?
And it starts.
What you mean? How?
Just the physical
He's
capability.
6'10", dude.
That's a lot of 6'10".
Okay.
That's a lot of that. That's all I'm saying. He birthed that. Don't get me wrong. He birthed it. I'm just saying. We hadn't seen it there.
Who's going to be matched up against Larry Bird? Karl Anthony Towns.
That's a nightmare, man.
Karl Anthony.
Larry Bird never relied on pure speed or explosive athleticism the way many modern stars do. He didn't need to jump out of the gym to dominate. Instead, he beat opponents with angles, positioning, and anticipation. Often, he was already one step ahead before defenders even realized what was happening. Bird could post up, face up, and guide defenders into uncomfortable spots on the floor, then calmly bury the shot right in their faces. There was no wasted motion and no panic, just precise execution. What truly set Bird apart, however, was his psychological edge. He didn't just want to win, he wanted to break his opponent's confidence. Bird was famous for telling defenders exactly what he was about to do, and then going out and doing it anyway. That kind of day, he didn't hesitate to say that Bird would still be an MVP caliber player. That statement carries weight because Thomas faced Bird in intense playoff battles during the 1980s. According to Thomas, Bird's greatness was never about the era he played in. It was about his skill game with patience, vision, and precise passing. That comparison highlights how Bird's style fits perfectly into modern basketball. Long before today's emphasis on spacing, ball movement, and three-point shooting became standard strategy, Bird was already playing that way. For Thomas, the conclusion was simple. Bird's leadership, clutch shot making, and ability to elevate teammates would translate to any generation. Place him in today's NBA, and the conversation wouldn't be about whether he could keep up. It would be about how anyone could stop him.
Really, he's older, but you grew up kind of knowing the legend of Larry Legend, and love for the game and love for practice and love for shooting. I think that we're similar in those areas, but he allowed players like myself to kind of dream big and think big at that position and to do things that traditional small forwards, I guess, or big men weren't doing, and he's one of the first guys you've seen.
I remember it was after practice, right? And we were shooting around and he's walking out. I've never to this point, I've never seen him play. So we're shooting and he's like walking out of the gym about to leave, but the ball rolls over to him. And I'm sure he probably haven't shot the ball in like fucking, I don't know, years at this point. So he picks the ball up, bro, shoots that motherfucker cash from 3 too, like, and he's in slacks, he's in a button down. Oh, bro, he cashed that shit and then just smooth.
Baron Davis offered another perspective when discussing how Larry Bird would perform in today's NBA. According to Davis, Bird wouldn't just fit into the modern game, he would physically overwhelm many defenders. Standing around 6'9" with impressive strength and balance, Bird wouldn't be pushed around by modern defenders. In fact, he would likely be the one delivering the punishment. In a league that relies heavily on switching defenses and smaller lineups, that creates serious matchup problems. If a guard switched onto him, Bird would simply back them down in the post. If a wing tried to defend him, he could lean into his strength and shoot over the top. And if a big man picked him up, Bird could pull them out to the perimeter and make them uncomfortable. Davis summed it up with a simple question: who is actually stopping him? Bird mastered the art of sealing defenders, creating space without relying on explosive speed, and absorbing contact throughout an entire game. That kind of body control over 4 quarters is rare even in today's NBA. Modern defenders are not used to battling physically in the post possession after possession, and Bird would wear them down both mentally and physically as the game went on. Meanwhile, Kevin Durant sees Bird's influence from a broader historical perspective. Durant didn't grow up watching Bird play live, but Bird's name constantly appeared in conversations about basketball greatness. Coaches referenced him and the ability to dictate the flow of the game. That mindset still influences many of today's stars. Finally, Dominique Wilkins strongly rejects the idea that Bird's success came from playing in a softer era. Wilkins believes the opposite is true. According to him, Bird competed during one of the most physical periods in NBA history. Defenders constantly made contact, space had to be earned, and players were tested with bumps and physical play.
And Larry just walks on the court, like, grabbed the ball and started jacking threes, I'm looking at everybody, I'm like, do y'all see this right now? And he made like at least 10 in a row threes. Like, just walked in, came in, looked at us, and was like, looking at us stretch and hit like 10 threes in a row. And walked off and sat like he ain't do nothing, like regular. Fold his leg and just sitting there looking at us. I'm like, yo, this guy's nice.
That's Larry Legend right there.
I'm like, man, that's the legend right there.
Larry Bird was like a Magic Johnson, or a Magic Johnson was like a Larry Bird. They try to add something new every year. They work harder than the rest of them. When practice is over, you could see Larry Bird out there every day, shooting for another 20 minutes, another half hour. If he didn't get enough running, he'd do some laps. He would just work hard. But above all, he was the most highly self-motivated athlete I ever was connected with.
Larry Bird endured heavy punishment throughout his career. Night after night, he faced hard fouls, body contact on nearly every cut, and defenders constantly leaning on him in an attempt to wear him down. Yet none of it stopped him. He continued to score, pass, and control games with remarkable precision and toughness. That context matters when imagining how he would perform in today's NBA. In an era that emphasizes freedom of movement and wide floor spacing, Bird would likely have even more room to operate. Closeouts would be longer, physical intimidation would be limited, and the court would feel more open. If he dominated when the game was far more physical, it's easy to imagine how dangerous he could be in a league. That was the moment when the legend truly became real. Lance Stephenson shared a similar story from his time with the Pacers. According to Stephenson, Bird once walked into the practice facility and casually grabbed a basketball before stepping onto the court. Despite being retired and far removed from game shape, Bird began shooting three-pointers, and they kept falling. There was no rush, no showmanship, just smooth, effortless accuracy. Stephenson recalled that Bird hit 10 shots in a row without even touching the rim. The gym reportedly fell silent. Nobody joked or celebrated. The message didn't need words. Bird wasn't there to entertain anyone. He simply demonstrated what elite skill looks like when it never truly fades. For Stephenson, that moment perfectly captured Bird's personality: calm, precise, and completely in control. For Red Auerbach, Bird's greatness came from something deeper than natural talent. When LeBron eventually tied Bird on the NBA's all-time triple-doubles list, his reaction wasn't casual celebration, it was recognition. He understood what Bird represented, a player whose greatness was